So with postcards, animals are one that I was going to tell everybody that are missed all the time. There's specific artists that just do postcards of cats and things. Thiel is another one that I've talked about before. And then there's Sophie Sperlich, which is another one of those well-known ones that just do cats. The first one is a Thiel here. As I was saying, that name is something you should look for. Most anyone with cats on it are worth looking at. I'm telling you right off the bat. It's one of the ones that most people miss. Most people looking for the cities, the real picture postcards, the Halloween, and all of the holidays with Santa. That's what everybody's going to assuming. Just like any other category that I talk about, there are always areas that most people don't think about or don't center in on. I look at every category you can possibly imagine with postcards. I even do very well with chromes, and I'll show you some chromes here in a few minutes. But cats in general, I do extremely well in. Let's show you some more here, just to give you some ideas. Now, the Halloween you should know enough to look at. But there's a bunch of felt ones, and let's just open one so you can see. All along this line, in many different versions of cats, hang on here, let's just zoom back in here, and it has felt on it. This is there's a black cat version, a tabby, and the whole works on this. It's nothing fancy. This one always goes for some insane amounts of money. It's just what I found. You can see it's a vintage one by looking at the back, circa 1910 to 1915, I would gather. German made, $385. These are real prices. These aren't just some made-up one. Now, Kish is an artist that does his own modern ones, kind of like I do. He's been doing them for way longer than I have. Obviously, Halloween we know. Let's slide down, and here's that same basic cat here as well, as I said. The series, the company that makes them, it doesn't matter. Any of these felt ones like this, Christmas, Halloween, I always get some good money of. And again, we're just going to skip down. We're only worrying about the artist ones. Now, I said this name, Sophia Sperlich. This is one of hers. I showed you some in a haul. Now, I didn't call them out because it was on YouTube, but this is an area that I can assure you will get you some money. Any of the cats, now people will call them humanized, but it's anthropomorphic. Means a animal taking the characteristics of a person, basically, is the gist of it. Now, Nister has some as well. Let's just show you a few of the Nisters. Now, Nister ones that aren't holiday usually don't do very well. It's an artist brand or manufacturer, I should say. And you can see they're adorable cards, in all honesty. I have a few of these I just got as well. There's many different versions of them. Some are signed, some are not. Anything that looks even similar to these styles. In fact, let's do some blow-ups so you can see them a little better. And there you go. Any of these kinds of things go for some good money. Christmas and holiday would be the best you would want off of these. Halloween is really incredibly hot right now for cats. Even after Halloween, I'll sell these. It doesn't matter at all. There's somebody who actually gave a whole lot of them away. $200 for 80 of those styles, but they're newer ones, but still. Now, this is Thiel-like. This isn't even by the same artist. This is just some artist copying off of him. Just like today, you'll see Chinese knockoffs and even U.S. knockoffs of U.S. products all the time. Anything to make a buck. It was the same thing back then. So don't think that that didn't happen. I do extremely well with these sorts. The cats wearing hats and things like that. I don't care if only these types of things are foreign. I will still mess with them if they're a postcard and there isn't much textual information on the front in another language. The front's going to sell it, so if there's a bunch of junk on here in other languages, people may stray away from it. But cats smoking and drinking are always good. They're just really nice images. I mean, I can't go enough about how good they are. I don't really, again, care where they come from. These are German made, it looks like. Well, French on one of them, Austria on one, and then German. So yeah, they're all European ones, but they're just excellent examples. I mean, you're not going to find much better than these sorts. And if you spend some time, again, Halloween we all know is worth some money. Even these simpleton ones like this is a Gabriel signed card. Gabriel ones always do go for some decent money, at least in my personal opinion. Let's slide down here and show you. Here's another one. Now, I have one just about like this that I just got. Wayne is another brand, and let's open up a Wayne. In fact, let's open up a couple right here. So you can just kind of see. They don't have to be signed. I don't care if it's a cat that's been painted and he's doing anything human or just really nicely done. they can go for some good money. Now, this is Wayne. Wayne does a lot of, what would you say, comical, bizarre in some senses. It's not really a cat show card. That's just what they're saying. This person should have shown the back. Unfortunately, you can't see it. But anyway, it still went for over $100. So I'm telling you, just these plain cards. Most people are going to be looking again for the real photo postcards. This is what you can find when those aren't there. This is not a holiday card. This is stuff that's usually dumped just in the animal bin when I'm out sourcing postcards. I can source postcards almost any day of the week, just here locally, even going to some of the bigger malls. You're not going to find a ton of them, but if you got an hour and you know at least something about what to dig into, I can go down to one and get a couple dozen usually if I'm down there. Even if I only get 10 at $10 a piece, I'm down there an hour, I'm going to make $100. Not $10 a piece, I should say, but $1 a piece, 10 cards, $10 into it. I should be able to flip it. I don't usually buy postcards from a place like that unless I'm going to get at least $10 out of them. It's just not worth my mess or time with it. Now let's look at this one here too. Now, everyone, just because it has a cat, doesn't make it worth some money. Like, this is just an ugly cat. You know, it just has to be specific. Anthropomorphic, these earlier style. And this is printed just like a Victorian trade card. It's from the same era as the trade cards were going on. In fact, this is a trade card now that I see it. So this is just listed in the wrong section. Now, I've told you that I find a lot of trade cards and postcards. I do. Here's somebody who doesn't know that it's not a postcard because he probably got it within a postcard collection. A lot of these are 3.5 by 5.5, and that's my honest opinion on why postcards ended up being that size. Because again, the trade cards of the day had that as a standard size already. That wasn't the standard size for every trade card, but there were some that were always that size in certain printing companies. So anyway. Now let's look at another one here. Again, postcards, I sell them in any type you can imagine. We'll look at some chromes here, and I'll give you some thoughts on chromes as well in just a few minutes here. But the card itself is just adorable. This is just a lovely card. Christmas, this tight image, painterly, they're anthropomorphic. We're going to look on the back, and I don't really care if it's British cards. Now, I tell you, don't mess with most cards from overseas. Any city scene or anything, if it's from overseas, I don't mess with it unless it's China and very specific places in England, and that's about it. Scarcer ones. But if the card has something different on the front, I don't really care where it was printed because I'm going to be able to sell it. These could have easily been sold in this market because the back is printed in English. It's a British stamp as well. So made in Germany. This could have been an American-made stamp that, you know, or card that was just sold in England. It doesn't mean it's not a U.S. card. Made in Germany, most of the cards were made back then in Germany. That was the center of printing production, of quality printing in Dresden or Bavaria. So hence that's why this one is so nice. I'll sometimes even put Germany in the title on these cards if they're really extra special. Bavaria or Dresden as well. And this is Helena McGuire. She did trade cards too. So if you recognize this, you'll see that it's basically the same exact thing. Goose Aus, from us or something along that line. I believe it's something along that line. Bavarian stamp, very easily distinguished. It's got a real nice cancel on it, honestly, too, plus a secondary stamping mark. I don't care where it's from. They didn't even mention the back on it because this is fairly common. This one's a little better than some, but it's still fairly common for the day. It's just a real nice example in my book here. Just super example of what you would want for a holiday card from her. Again, Wayne. I've talked about the Wayne ones. Any of those Wayne ones. This one looks like Wayne here as well, too. This is Suffragette, so that's a secondary one. Even some of these terribly hand-drawn ones carry some value. This is someone who's, I believe, known. But again, just keep on looking down here. You'll find many different names and brands. Let's just pull up just a couple more here, just to show you what I'm talking about. Raphael Tuck. I mention Tuck all the time. Let's look at this just to show you a quick one here. Now, Wayne is a name. If you see it on anything, I usually check it out. He did more than just cats, so don't think it's just going to be cats. But they are unique. They are different. They do sell very well. I can't complain about these sorts of things. It's just a really nice example here. It's got that folksy look to it and the whole works. That's why I went for $127. So any of those Wayne ones I usually look at. Now let's look at this as Roberts. There's probably 40 or so people that do very nice, or did, I should say, nice cat cards like this. Again, most of the cat cards you see are you going to be selective with, because it has to be certain ones. I try to get the ones that are signed if you don't know the difference. And VR is this artist's initials. You can look up some of the books that I have and I've shown before. They will show you the complete list of the artists, or not a complete list, I should say, but quite a few of the artists that did these. So, and they mix and match them up on here on stylized with value. These are unique. I have not seen this whole set. I've seen a few of these in my time, but not all 5 of these. There's probably a dozen or so probably to this entire set, would be my guess, because I've seen other ones besides these in other listings. Now, Raphael Tuck I buy or look at. Now, postcards Raphael Tuck don't sell as well as trade cards or Christmas greeting cards. So postcards would be on the lower end of Raphael Tuck. Like these you see here with the watermelon. I guess that would be a pepper, and that's a orange or a apple. I can't quite tell. There's a pear. Those I usually average about, say, $7 to $10, $12 on these. Any of those kind, just FYI. You're going to run into those for sure. Now let's just see if it'll let. There we go. These plain backgrounds will usually have, if they're plain background, I've noticed the Raphael Tuck symbol there on the front on the left, and that's what that symbol is. It's usually an easel with a R, a small capital R, and then a large T, and then an S for Raphael Tuck and Son, or Sons, I should say. And that emblem's on all kinds of stuff. It's usually not in the back in this case, and I don't think, yeah, it is there actually. It looks like on the very end on the left there, but these Raphael Tuck ones are really good. Now, this is Raphael Tuck without his son, so maybe his son took over. I'm not really sure on the distinguishing factors on the individual signatures by Raphael Tuck, but you can date it otherwise. It's just a really nice one here, $100. Now, chromes are another area that most everybody passes by. So on chromes, a lot of people don't know what chrome means and don't put it in the title. So when you're looking up cards by chrome, it's hard to find just chrome. So I don't always put the word chrome in the title at all. Now you can see here, and I was going to actually talk about this because somebody actually asked that question and bought some postcards off of eBay. They do sell them in lots on eBay, but I'm going to give you a warning here right now. Let's just open one up and just see here. Most of the sellers that I see selling boxes of postcards, as this person does here, sells. I just picked a random one. I didn't look this up before right now. So this person sold a big lot of 1,000 postcards for $333. Now, looking at his store, you can see he's got 252 items, and it appears to be all postcards. So this person here is, chances are, selling the stuff that he can't sell. That's why I don't recommend buying postcards off of eBay. You're going to end up spending hours digging through and researching and trying to find the price, only to come up with the fact that the majority of those lots, 1,000 postcards, 2,000 postcards, 10,000 postcards, whatever you could see on eBay, are leftovers from people. I sell 1,000 postcard lots myself. Be cautious. You know, your chances on getting skunked on a lot off of eBay of massive quantities of postcards is pretty high. Let's just pick another one here. I'm not saying they're all like that, but a large majority of every one I usually look at turns out that they're sellers as well. Not always. It's not always the case. This one sells photos and other things and vintage in general. It's possible he has a store. You know, I'd be hesitant when I see other photographic items like that. Maybe he just doesn't want to mess with it. Who knows? It's a large lot of postcards later. 90% of all the postcard lots I've seen, and I've bought a few, so I'm not going to tell you I haven't. I have bought a few off of eBay. I have not been happy with any of them. I do far better buying 1,000 postcard lot at a local live auction because I can look through it. Usually it's a accumulation lot from the auction house that might have gotten a couple hundred here, a couple hundred there, and they'll throw them together in a big lot at the end. So almost any of these I've looked at in the past almost always sell similar items, if not hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of postcards. This person's selling bunches of big bulk lots, so I personally wouldn't feel safe buying them from something like this. Foreign ones you don't want to mess with. If it says mixed lot, I wouldn't mess with it. Don't mess with that stuff. But chrome-wise, you can't look up specifics. Again, there's a bunch of these 1,000 ones, lots here. Again, stick away from them unless you can afford to sink a lot of time and money into something without knowing for sure. I would never spend $134 on a lot of 1,000 postcards if I didn't know. Now I know you have other people telling you, yeah, if they're a penny or two a piece, you might have to sell them just the way you bought them, just to break even. I'm telling you right off the bat. Do it however you want, feel about that however you want, but I would honestly not recommend doing that. Again, you see a lot of lots on here. They're on here. Again, this is 90 days, so this is over a 90-day period. You'll see the same kind of lots here, 2,000, 2,000, 2,000. These are 3 different lots that they keep running over and over again without changing the photo. Not something you're supposed to do, but, you know, that's what happened. A lot of lots. Again, these are usually what I see on these boxes. Let's see what this person sells. Again, I'm just picking some random ones here so you know it's not some setup video or anything like that. But, oh, yeah, same person we just seen before, so he's got a couple of those. Let's see here. Let's look at this one here. Some foreign and Canadian. Again, look at the percentages when you do that. My only interest right now is if they sell postcards on their own. And, again, this one does. I'm going to tell you right now that probably 85% of people that are selling a lot sell postcards as well. Most people aren't going to do big lots of postcards unless they've been looked through. If they know the postcards are worth money, why are they blowing them out without, you know, digging through them? That's my take on it. I've done this for a long time. I've got, you know, I've had hundreds of thousands of postcards, no exaggeration. You got to be very, very careful. Again, these lots right here. Let's pull one of these up. This person's selling multiples. Everyone I've pulled up other than one sells postcards on their own. Just postcards, loose postcards. Another one. That's what I'm telling you. Everyone who's selling bunches is going to have postcards. This guy's got some decent wrappers on here too, early wrappers. Things like that I would sell. Again, postcards. And he's selling postcards valued at $5.99. So my take on it is he's pulled out any postcards out of any of those lots that he values, you know, under $5.99. You know, so just be cautious on that. I've had this question many, many times. Every time I run into that, though, I say, go look at this, go look at that. And the person's, sure enough, the seller of those cards does have postcards up, individual postcards. And that's exactly what I'm just flipping through here. Again, same thing. Again, these are all random. He is selling his leftovers here. Everybody that I know does the same thing. So you can't be safe on buying them off of eBay because people are being really picky when they get them. Now, I'm not saying you can't get a good lot and then there might be some that are worth some money, but your odds are, you know, 85% against you finding anything super. And this is literally my odds on this. You can't expect a postcard lister to give away big lots of postcards. If they're spending the time to list $5.99 postcards, I'll almost guarantee you that the lots that they still have 1,000 postcards, there's no $5.99 cards or over in that lot. They've pulled them out. Again, everybody misses something, but it's not going to be worth your time. You got time and effort. You're spending 50, 60, 70 bucks in it. It may not seem like a lot, but it's going to be a real hard press to sell those like these type here, these written ones here like that. I'm really surprised those sold. Some people could buy some of these as well for like, what would you say, craft projects and things like that. There are some that look great and that will sell well as a chrome too. Chrome looks like a photo, like a color photo. I've got videos on that as well too. As you see, there are some that do sell, but you're not going to be able to just look up a chrome postcard. Again, as I said, probably maybe 1 out of 3 people adds the word chrome to the title. The other 2/3 of everybody listing postcards probably doesn't even put the word chrome in the title at all. I usually don't put chrome in the title either because most people aren't looking for chrome. But if it's the right subject matter, it's going to sell. Cats on chrome I would not mess with, just to FYI. No animals on chrome are usually worth much at all unless it's like an advertising piece. So, you know, just keep that in mind when you're looking for some of these things. There are some that are okay, like this Bangkok one. Here's a Holly Lodge. You know, I do well on chromes. I get 50, 60 bucks on some from West Virginia. Some California chromes I still do very well in. You can't look them up by the word chrome, though, so just FYI on that one. Now, let me talk about a few more things while we've got you here. I've had questions on future holidays. What do you do for future holidays? Now, postcards, paper, anything like that, right this minute I am getting together my Valentine's ones and my Easter ones. I just sold a mess of Easter cards to somebody for top dollar right this minute. People who have collections and get stuff together for Easter and the holidays will be doing this in advance. I've been selling Christmas at a higher dollar value for the last 30 plus days already. And we've been dumping everything Christmas that we've had. I think the only thing I have left are a few books and some postcards that I just got in. I may have some stuff in boxes. I have to go through a couple boxes, but other than that, I'm cranked out all the Christmas stuff already. So if you're only having to worry about the new Christmas stuff you have coming in to still list this season, you need to rush it, mind you, for one, because a lot of people do buy even vintage collectibles and home goods, prior to Thanksgiving for Christmas. Like for our kids and stuff, I've had most all of my kids' Christmas presents already for quite some time. The wife's, obviously, I get at the last, depending on needs and stuff too, but everything else is bought in advance, so just keep that in mind. Okay, so this is just a few of the Easter, and these all have been selling routinely. This is just from the last 2 days. This is just Easter that I've just sold for the last 2 days to several different people. These are just a couple of items. Now I've got some die cuts that are Easter and things we sold in the last 48 hours as well too. This is literally just the past 40 hours. So I've been putting up Easter stuff right this very minute. It doesn't have to be cards. It doesn't have to be paper. If you got plushes, you got Easter related glasses or dishes or really almost anything Easter, this is the time that I start to crank those out. I want to have these up before New Year's. That's literally my goal almost always for this type of thing. Same thing goes for Valentine's Day. I sold a handful of Valentine's Day, but Easter stuff is just going through the roof. Now, I've told you that religious stuff sells better during Christmas and Easter. Those are the two best times to sell religious stuff. Some of the religious stuff that I do sell are bought from people that are buying for Easter, and they may have bought Christmas stuff at the same time. They're here in my store. They might as well get it. They won't have to pay for shipping. So these are examples. I am already cranking out Easter. If you look at what the stores put out, they put up stuff well in advance, months in advance. And as I said, when you're buying collectibles for the holidays, we buy them more than a year in advance now. Like a year and 2 months in advance we're up to right this minute. For next year's Christmas is done for business-wise. And we invest in it. We buy extra stuff. I'll buy, cases of stuff, just tons of it. Some of it's storage. Some of it I don't have to do anything with other than a down payment until it gets closer to the season. Sometimes I can put in the order and not even have to put a down payment on it right away. So if you wheel and deal and do this enough, you can get stuff like that and not have to worry about that aspect of it. Price is not a huge ordeal. We're out of the season and I'm still getting decent money. I mark these down. I mark everything up. These are very common cards. It's got like a poem on the back, but it's cute Easter. Now again, let me just shoot this out here since we're looking at a couple listings. Now, a lot of people would put this image right here, what you see as the main image, as the first image, as the zoom in. But if you put this here and do a zoom in on it, this is so much more graphical than looking at this one here. I mean, you see some damage. It's kind of dark and dingy around the edges, but this is a very sharp, clear, clean looking image. That's why I say the zoom ins always work for us. Now, I mark them up usually 3 times. I've said this for since I've been on YouTube here. I mark everything up 3 times. I marked it down 1/3, and I sold it for twice what most everybody sells the same exact card for. All the cards that I'm showing here, most everybody sells them for half of what I do. Most everybody, though, who buys these doesn't go up and look up comps. Only the sellers are the ones digging into comps. So that's part of the aspect on this. So just keep that in mind about pricing and such forth on here. I mark up. I can crank off a big chunk of it. Again, this card's like $6-8. I promise you. Look these cards up. These are by the Wilson Spice Company. I've got tons of these because the Wilson Spice Company is here from my hometown where I'm at still right now. And these show up all over the place at auctions. I can get these at like every other auction sometimes, at least a couple of these. Sometimes I walk off with stacks of these. I've even gotten uncut sheets and stuff of cards all still attached to each other from the factory and the printing companies in this local area. Sometimes I can find this type of material, believe it or not, as NOS stock from 1880 sitting in a warehouse in downtown Toledo out this way. I never look past if there's a building downtown that's being liquidated, whatever's in it. Sometimes I'll look up the history of the building to see what was in the building before. It's just something I've done for a long time. I like history, so even if I didn't glean anything else from it, it'd be interesting to know what was in that building. Because sometimes downtown around here, there'll be like clear out of an entire building. Or, you know, in some of the small towns, like they'll clear out a 2 or 3 story downtown building that was built in like 1890s, and they'll find stuff up in the attics. It's a good place to always source stuff. 22.42 on this one. I don't think I've seen one of these go for more than, say, $8 or $12 in all honesty. So again, I marked them down. I did 35% on a markdown, my own markdown. I didn't give eBay any sponsor or anything like that. And then I move a bunch that way as well too. Again, I mark them up as I keep telling you. I can't say everybody can do that at 35-cent listing fees if that's what you're paying. I pay 2.5 cents to 5 cents depending on where it falls in my anchor store. The first 10,000 listings are 2.5 cents, and over 10,000 it costs me a nickel to list for every 30 days. So I don't worry about that. But Easter stuff is hot right now. Again, this is just a two-day or a couple day time frame. I showed you this, I think, in a haul or a what sold video. Again, it's Easter. It's hand-painted. It's lovely. All different people pretty much buying these. Easter is selling right this very second. No lie. This is the time frame I start to move Easter. And again, people are going to say, well, what about Christmas? Christmas is still pounding. People buy stuff for Easter at Christmas time to give to somebody because there's Easter collectors. So, you know, don't just think it's just going to be Christmas that's going to sell. Collectors collect. They don't care what time of year it is. They don't care what the season is. Easter is going up right now. Some of these I just put up like the last one. Some of the Wilson Spice Company cards were just put up because of the number bin that's in. So I do pay attention to that stuff and sees what sells. So again, these are just sold in just the last little bit. Now this is nothing really fancy. It's a blank back, new old stock. I bought a bunch of these. It would be considered an Easter card as well, and it sold for $12.50 also. I don't usually expect to get more than, say, $4 or $5 for these. I've got a lady, or actually 2 technically, that will make offers and stuff like this all day long, and I might sell 10 or 20 of these to her, or one of the ladies, I should say, on any given day. These are some of the folks that I'll let hold off to the end of the month, 30 days or less, and then they can pay at the very end of the month. And sometimes I'll sell them, the same card might only sell to them for $4. Again, I always hope to get more, but I don't turn down a $4 sale when it's people that buy from me, you know, dozens a month, every single month for years. So I don't really care. They think they're getting a big special. $4 is about average I would expect to get on this card in the first place, but it sold for $12.50. So anyway, look into this a little more. If you want holiday, again, it doesn't matter what items you're listing. I start listing Easter right about now, and I'm listing the Valentine's Day cards as well. As soon as it flips over into January, I'm going to start listing 4th of July and stuff like that also. You can list 4th of July for the New Year's because people like the fireworks aspect of the 4th of July, like postcards and things along that line. So I'm not saying not to list 4th of July right now, but I do better on the religious stuff now than I do on the 4th of July. So I'm not worried about 4th of July stuff right now. I can still list it in January, the 1st or 2nd week, and still get the crowd that would be collecting for the 4th of July and New Year's at the same time. So that's my personal thought on holiday stuff. As you know, I'm big on all that stuff. I love the holiday. We do tons of stuff. I create my own stuff. But this sort of stuff always sells. Again, it doesn't matter what it is, whether it's plushes, Easter-related toys, or really anything Easter, or for Valentine's Day, they do sell. Vintage is always best to sell at this time of year because, again, you've got collectors buying for other people's collections for Christmas. So you're not just worrying about Valentine collectors and such forth. You're looking about people buying for these collectors also. So anyway, that's what I have for you. Well, that's what I got for you. Again, if this is a two-parter, which I'm almost sure it will have been, This will be the second part you're listening to now. I already have something in the works right this very second, which I'm filming right after I cut off from here for another video in this Patreon group here as well. So just FYI, there will be some possibly one or so small video segments from the art professor that I'm not posting on there that I'll post up here to outtakes and some longer versions and things like that if anybody's interested. If not, it's not a bigger deal, but I'll probably just post them out there. You can just bypass them. I'll make sure that they don't have the same auction professor title or thumbnail that you see. So all the ones coming from Art Professor will have a totally different thumbnail. So for those who aren't interested in the Art Professor ones, the thumbnail will be different. I probably won't post any of the Art Professor links from YouTube because I don't want to flood everybody with that, but there will be, as I said, some of this special content from the Art Professor starting probably this coming up week, outtakes and just some stuff that I didn't show in the videos for those interested. Again, you can just bypass them if you're not interested. You'll just see a different thumbnail. It'll say Art Professor with a total different background, and it'll start from 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, just as the Art Professor does as well too. Again, I'll do whatever I can to help everybody else. It does take me a few days sometimes to get to everybody. My intent is to work it up to every day I can answer everything for you guys right off the bat. I do have another person. Evan is starting with us tomorrow at 12. So I have another employee coming on, so I should have a little more time here. So just FYI. So anyway, again, I thank everybody for your support and just holler out and hope you have a good day.